a rapidly increasing population, this meant that change from the extremely wasteful older system of agriculture was needed in order to fuel the growing needs of Britain. So today we'll be explaining 4 critical items or facts about agrarian revolution. These include 1. The explanation of the older and extremely wasteful system of agriculture that was practiced. 2. Outlining 4 new methods that were introduced to the agricultural sector that fueled greater production. 3. Which group was notably affected by the Agrarian Revolution, and discussing 5 ways they were affected. 4. Discussing 4 positive and 4 negative effects the Agrarian Revolution had on the British society. And 5. Justifying the importance and the need for the Agrarian Revolution. Without further ado, let's get started. So item 1. Explaining the older and extremely wasteful system of agriculture that was practiced. Before the Agrarian Revolution there was a wasteful system called open field farming system. This system of agriculture was widely practiced in medieval Europe, based on dividing the land used or suitable for growing crops, arable land into half. The first half was cultivated and the other half unplanted. This was done to conserve the nutrients in the soil. The unplanted section was left empty or fallow. This practice drastically reduced crop production, which was bad for society. In this type of farming system there were no fences, hedges or drainage, and because of this animals could trample on crops, not to mention that there was a limited amount. This would also help to spread diseases and bad weeds to other farms. In this system there was also practice of the 3-field crop rotation. This greatly increased famine. This was so because in this system they used 2 fields and 1 left fallow. This was done in an attempt to conserve or replenish the soil nutrients. This was careless because the amount of crops needed was not being produced. Item 2. Outline 4 new methods that were introduced to the agricultural sector that fueled greater production. During the agricultural revolution in Britain, new types of farming and types of breeding were introduced that increased the production of goods to satisfy the growing population. What were they exactly? 1. The use of the seed drill. 2. Selective breeding. 3. The 4-course crop rotation. 4. The use of fertilizer, manure. An inferior version of the seed drill was invented in the 16th century and was the work of Camillo Dorollo in Europe, although there were many different older types. However, in Britain it was upgraded in the Agrarian Revolution due to a man named Jethro Tull, no, not the singer, the European inventor. This invention alone changed the way how farming was done in the field by making it easy to work, and the production was only going to keep increasing until the 18th century, where innovativeness was at an all-time high in Great Britain due to the Napoleonic Wars and new ways of breeding. One of the inventions that increased production greatly was the selective breeding method of animals by Robert Bakewell. Instead of focusing on breeding multiple animals of the same type, they would instead focus on breeding the best and most developed animals that are capable of producing a lot more goods, hence the increase in goods. The invention of the crop rotation system developed by Charles Townshend also made sure different types of nutrients were being grown in order for certain nutrients in the soil not to be depleted. This maximized crop yield due to farmlands lasting longer. Farmers in the region of Waasland, in present-day northern Belgium, pioneered a 4-field rotation in the early 16th century, and the British agriculturist Charles Townshend, 1674–1738, popularized this system in the 18th century. The sequence of 4 crops, wheat, turnips, barley and clover, included a fodder crop and a grazing crop, allowing livestock to be bred year-round. The 4-field crop rotation became a key development in the British agricultural revolution. The rotation between arable and lea is sometimes called lea farming. This has not only omitted the presence of a fallow field but has brought back or replenished whatever nutrients that were taken from the soil each year. This method is being carried out. Over the years, farmers discovered that the animal manure dung possessed certain nutrients that were beneficial to fertilization. As a result, farmers began to collect animal manure in special receptacles, containers, and spread it over their cropland. This enriched the soil with nutrients and significantly increased crop yields. Item 3. Which group was notably affected by the Agrarian Revolution? And discuss 5 ways they were affected. The lower class of people like the peasants and farmers were affected greatly by this revolutionary era. These 5 ways include that. 1. Many peasants lost their jobs because of the use of machines as well as the enclosure movement. The increased use of machinery made farm work easier and more efficient, however it forced people out of their jobs, especially women. 2. Peasants lost the rights to their land because of enclosure acts. This was because wealthy men began buying the strips on land, creating large farmlands and enclose them with hedges. A few small farmers could afford new lands because land prices rose. 3. Peasants had to migrate from rural areas to urban areas to find jobs, which led to poor sanitation, pollution, the spread of diseases and low wages for factory workers. 4. Peasants started to work in various fields, for example, machine operation, some in production and economics, and that led to the growth of the working class. People now could walk in towns with the essence of running the economy. 5. For the peasant communities, the outcomes for many of the people living there included food riots, violent protesting, and increase in crime and also transportation because of these, but a more horrifying one was the starvation of people. Item 4. Discuss 4 positive and 4 negative effects the Agrarian Revolution had on the British society. The positives. The introduction of new crops/plants/food items which lead to a greater variety of food in Great Britain that led to a healthier population instead of feeding on a limited variety of food. More production meant that prices were lowered. This made a wide variety of good quality food more affordable for the lower class people like the peasants. The greater the production of food meant a greater population in Great Britain, which eventually led to the population bomb, which was the unprecedented increase in the population. The introduction of new technologies which made farming a lot easier, in that farming was more efficient. The negatives. The drastic decrease in employment, high unemployment rate. This is due to the new, advanced and revolutionary technological farming items, which allowed more work to be done with less people, causing most farmers to be redundant or superfluous as manual labor. Work was gradually being replaced. Due to high unemployment in rural areas, many people migrated to the cities and towns, urban areas, to find work, which led to urbanization. Urbanization made the towns and cities overcrowded and polluted, which made them vulnerable or an easy target for epidemics. Deforestation is a result of urbanization. The cutting down of trees on a large scale to expand urban areas and to make way for more farm space, which leads to climate change and loss of habitat for most biotic factors such as animals or just wildlife. And finally, item 5. Justify the importance and the need for the agrarian revolution. A drastic change in the agricultural system in both quality and quantity. Why? The price for food products were lowered and were much more affordable for lower class people like the peasants, which boosted the population drastically, due to the food quantity. Also, the increase in quality made the population healthier due to the new livestock breeding, which led to a variety of different offsprings of animals such as the Dishley Leicester. The agricultural revolution was a period of significant agricultural development marked by new farming techniques and inventions that led to a massive increase in food production. These inventions made farming easier and more productive, and fewer workers were needed on the farms. See drill, Scots plough and Rotherham plough. Thank you for watching, and in this spirit we say goodbye.